sleeping in the lag, wanna keep up. Bitch, you better bounce it fast.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. My name is Alina Smith. I'm a writer and producer for acts like ITZY, Red Velvet, Produce 101, Chungha, Sunmi, and many others. And today I'm going to be showing you how you can produce K-pop vocals. I made a video a little while back showing how I produced my song Boss Up, which was originally written for Lisa from BLACKPINK, and I didn't end up showing the vocals, just the instrumental production, and a lot of you guys did want to see the vocals, so I decided to make a separate video about that. We're gonna dive a little bit into singing technique, into stacking, into processing, so without further ado, let's just get straight into it. Okay, I figured before we dive in, let's listen to a little bit of the song so you guys know what we're working with. This is my song Boss Up, and like I mentioned, it was written for Lisa, so I was producing these vocals like K-pop and the same way that I basically produce my K-pop demos that I send to K-pop artists and labels. So I think it has a lot of helpful techniques, but first, let's listen.
Keep on making it pop till my name again, and I'm never gonna stop. I'ma need a bigger bag for all this cash, fuck a breather. I'ma grind until the mash, sip my tea hot while they sleeping in the lag, wanna keep up. Bitch, you better bounce it fast. Bounce up, bounce up.
Okay, so first of all, I want to jump into the chorus. That's the most important part, and I'm gonna play you guys a little bit of the lead.
I'ma need a bigger bag for all this cash, fuck a breather.
So I want to point out the performance. It is very much full of attitude. So that's the first thing that you need to know, is that when you cut K-pop vocals, you need to sell the song to whoever is potentially cutting it, right? Like if I was writing for Twice, not that I would send this to Twice, I don't think it fits them, but like let's say for some reason Twice were looking for a song like this, I would probably do a softer performance. I would do a prettier performance. I would do a more powerful singy kind of performance versus underneath, like that very kind of slightly nasally, very much pharyngeal upfront sound. So that's the first thing to remember, is just how to perform it. Like, does it match the artist and the feelings that they're trying to evoke from their listeners? So I've shown you guys my vocal chain before. It is really quite simple, and I adjust it depending on what I'm doing, but I do boost mid-range always first. Then I de-ess, and this, I'm not de-essing too much because I wanted the vocal to be really bright, and I will say this about our de-esser, no shade, but like this de-esser kind of grabs a lot of the top range of what you're de-essing, and it mutes it, and it dulls it down, which is not a good thing. So I kind of have to fight against that. Or get a new de-esser, but I don't feel like it. So then we've got a little bit of compression going on with just an 1176, a little bit of 8K boost on this Pultec emulator. Sometimes I will go this far,
I'ma need a
but because I cut this on the Warm Audio 8000 mic, which is a really bright mic, this is before I got my LM251, you can't do that with this mic with a female vocal. It literally sounds like a tinny mess. So I didn't do that this time around. And then I do boost 10K as well. I use the API from Waves, but I use other plugins for that as well, like Manly, Massive Passive, things like that. And I do boost a little bit around like 3K. So that's just like this simple lead vocal chain. Now I want to look at some of the layering in the chorus. So we've got 2 dubs here. I usually do 2 dubs. I know people that do 4 or 6. It just depends on the sound you're going for. I was trying to shoot for a soloist. Usually if it's a group, you can do more, but I'll be honest with you, I usually do 2 and get away with it. So it just depends on your comfort level and also on what you like and what you want to listen to. You're going to listen to your own demos, so you might as well like them, right? But these are the dubs. This is what they sound like.
I'ma need a bigger bag for all this cash, fuck a breather.
As you can tell, they're tuned. They're very much like aligned to the lead as well. I use vocal line to really make it very tight if you listen to this all together.
I'ma grind until I mash, sip my tea hot while they sleeping in the lag, wanna keep up.
It's pretty tight, they're very much lined up, and this is definitely something I will do quite a bit. I also have a few other like funky sort of techniques. I have this sort of like crunchy talking underneath some of the parts of the lead.
I'ma need a Fuck a breather.
You know, I'm just really trying to emphasize the attitude.
Fuck a breather.
You know, it's really low in the mix, but it just subliminally helps with the kind of vibe where I'm like, I can breathe. So that's just a technique. Sometimes I'll go really crazy. Sometimes I'll be like full on, like, I'm a need, like fry, just to help create that texture. But it just depends on the song. And then I got a couple of created lows. Sometimes I will sing these. No, this is a bit low. So I just went ahead and, you know, took these and dropped them an octave. So we've got our vocal harmony stack. As you can see, I'm stacking a lot more in the verse and in the pre, which this is really a song by song choice. I have choruses of K-pop songs where things are stacked up like to the roof. And this is a little bit simpler. So we've got our 6 minor underneath the melody.
I'ma need a...
You know, as you can see, I'm emphasizing the same da 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 ba 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 ba, that melody specifically. And this is a skill that's gonna come to you. You know, if you're a beginner, it's gonna come to you with practice, because it's kind of hard to know in the beginning, like, what do I emphasize, what do I de-emphasize? And this is like, as you listen to music more and you create more music, you will just naturally start gravitating towards that. You know, and the processing on these BGVs is really simple. You guys know I like this plugin. This just helps basically take vocals out of the center and remove them. And obviously I'm panning. They're not like at the center. They're like 27 right, 27 left. But this creates the subliminal effect that they're wider than they are. And it also helps remove center information, so the lead can shine a little bit more in the center and the BGVs can shine more on the sides. And of course, Valhalla verb, I'm on the 80s setting because I wanted this to be a bit brighter. I'm usually on the 70s. That's like my favorite, but I wanted this to shine, to shimmer a little bit. Now I think for this song specifically, this is a defining characteristic of the song, are these gangs.
I'ma need a bigger bag around the skies. Fuck a breather.
Okay, so this is all me. So a lot of the times with the gang, I like to have more than one vocalist. I just didn't have access to another vocalist. Like Elli wasn't here, nobody was here. So I just went ahead and sang these myself. The way I do this will make it sound a little bit like fuller, because if you listen to this without the track, I think it sounds pretty full.
I'ma need a bigger bag for all this cash. Fuck a breather.
So the way I accomplish this, I sing every pass a little bit differently.
I'ma need a bigger bag for all this cash.
This one is very like ba 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 ba. It's like loose, it's pitchy on purpose, because if I was very on pitch, it would not like texturize as well with the lead.
I'ma need a...
This one is like I'ma need, very like nasally.
I'ma need a bigger bag for all this cash.
Big bag, you know, I'm like almost pronouncing words in a weird, kind of like childish way, just to create that na 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 kind of vibe underneath the chorus. If you look at the post, I actually have more gangs come in on the words boss up, because that's a hook.
Fast, boss up, boss up. I'ma make you boss up fast, boss up. Fast, boss up, boss up.
Yeah, I basically just yelled boss up in many different ways. Boss up, boss up, boss up. Like different pitches, different pronunciations, more nasally, more kind of throaty. That's how you can come close to having a gang like crowd vocal when it's just you. So, and another feature of the post that I really like are the airy stacks. If you guys know my tracks, you know I do this all the time. I have a very airy voice, and I use that to my advantage to create these textured moments in songs. A lot of times I'll have Valhalla shimmer on these. It just has that really large kind of mode, reverb mode. It sounds really big, but it also sounds like it sparkles. So that's just, it's funny, I don't use this verb for anything else. Like I literally own this verb just to put it on my pad vocal stacks. So a lot of this is performance. You know, you can be like, ooh, or you can be like, ooh, you're delivering more air. So if you do it the first way I did it, it's not going to sound like that. So again, much of this comes down to performance. So, and I showed you guys the gangs on the words boss up, but I do have regular doubles on them.
Fast, boss up,
I also have some really yelly ones.
boss up, boss up.
You know, because the leads are more like bust up. It's a little bit of a lower pitch. And you always have to think about this with rap, right? A lot of people don't think about rap in terms of pitch. You know, it's more rhythm. But pitch in rap really, really matters. And especially when you layer. If you layer all in the same pitch, it's just going to sound thicker, but it won't sound bigger, if that makes sense. It might even sound like crunchy and like not as good as you want. So when you're performing, add those different pitches.
Boss up, boss up.
I also have this whisper track, which you can see I'm like very close to the mic because I'm like almost like spitting into the microphone, but this is very tucked in. Again, just helps build that texture. And this right here is a part I really like. This is a background vocal stack going out of the post into the second verse.
Buzz up, keep my money like I keep my body thick as fuck. So if you wanna get it like I get it, bitch, you better buzz up.
It's just a bunch of parts, really. Like, it isn't that fancy, you know what I mean? But I really encourage you guys for K-pop specifically, especially if you're writing for a group, which this wasn't, but like, I just like this. Find places where you can really stack up like 4 to 5 parts, because there's usually, 4+ members in a group. So, you have to give them parts to harmonize and come together. So this is like one of those moments.
If you wanna get,
We got a higher vocal. We got a really high, and I also encourage you guys not to be embarrassed. That is a bit high for me. Like, I'm not gonna sing up there and sound like Celine Dion, but it doesn't matter because it's tucked into the stack, and it helps open up the stack to the higher frequencies. And another way you can do this is, if you can't hit it, you can sing it an octave lower, and you can up the pitch an octave. It will sound processed, but if it's tucked in, actually, I've done that before, where like my voice was not in a good spot, I just couldn't do it. It works. So I wanted to take a quick look at the verses with you guys now.
buzz up fast. Lesson 1, never listen to a stupid man. Let him run his mouth while you run errands in your Benz. Lesson 2.
So a lot of this is simple, and I will actually show you guys some of the things I tried that didn't work. And I decided to simplify it because it just felt like I was adding things to add things. Like, I did have this little stack right here.
Never listen to a stupid man. Let him run.
I didn't like that it was covering up a lyric, and I didn't like that it was covering up a funny lyric. So when you guys stack things, definitely remember to pay attention to what it might be masking in your mix. And if it's masking something important, maybe don't do it. Here's another one here.
Errands in your Benz. Lesson 2.
So, and this one goes within your bends. It's like a cohesive harmony with it. It's not a counter, but it felt too early on for me. I wanted to develop to that big moment of all the harmonies, all the gangs coming in the chorus, and like, it felt like a little bit too much. I will say, if this was for a group, I probably would have kept it, but for a soloist, it's not usually as much harmony unless it's in the chorus or pre-chorus, so I left it out. I do keep a lot of the doubles in here,
Let him run.
and I have
Let him run.
just like a regular double that does what the lead does, but I also have
Let
this,
him run.
my little whisper track.
Lesson 2.
Same lesson 2. Just it's texturally fun to play around with things like that. And you don't always have to whisper. Like I said, you can do fry. You can maybe even drop your pitch, like lesson 1. Like, there's a lot you can do. You can even use something like Little Altar Boy to play around with it. Okay, I want you guys to pay attention to this moment now. This is transition from like first part of the verse to second part of the verse.
Elevate your game while they follow the rules. Lesson 3 is never.
So, it's elevate your game while they follow rules, and the rules is kind of short, but I do have this stack right here. It's an ooey, but I picked that because it's the same vowel as rules, so it almost sounds like I go rules, It just helps emphasize that word.
Game while they follow the rules. Lesson 3 is never.
I think that's a lot of fun, and there's obviously like a regular stack going on in here as well. Now, there's a few kind of interesting techniques in this part of the verse.
Lesson 3 is never doing wishy-washy business. If you wanna be the cream, then put your cookie in it.
So I'm doubling rap with a harmony stack, basically.
If you wanna be the cream, then put your cookie.
I'm kind of pitchy, but you can't tell the final record. Oh well. I like doing these kinds of things because honestly, it's just really interesting to me. Obviously, I have my whispers.
You wanna be the cream, then put your cookie in it.
But that really kind of helps lift that one moment. I say this a lot. A lot of it is about creating moments, memorable moments, because think about your favorite song, right? There's probably moments in there that you're like, oh, just that one ad lib or that one piano part. As a creator, try to think like, how can I serve a fan a really fun moment? Oh, and here's a fun example of like a computer like sort of created effect on a vocal. So I've got these responses to Max and Plaque right here. And I'm using Little Altar Boy to turn down the form. It is super simple, but it's one of those things that's super, super fun. Yeah, you can see it right here. I went down on the word Plaque. It's so subliminal. I think a lot of people wouldn't notice this, but again, moments. The second verse is where I kind of like go off on a rap. And a lot of this is very simple layering techniques. A lot of it has to do with the lead performance. Like, I've worked really hard on this rap performance because I just wanted it to deliver all the kind of juicy rhythms and also the attitude, just make you feel empowered. So I didn't want to cover it up with too much stuff. I'm keeping the same idea of the whisper plus the double stacks on important moments.
Look in the mirror, damn, I'm fucking fine. Got that Botox early, she forever 25.
Kind of lends itself to it, you know what I mean?
But now I be the woman eating little man alive. Yeah, I'm the first in my fam to get a meal, put it in my purse till it bursts.
Yeah, it is really quite simple. I'm not doing anything crazy. There's a little bit of like a breath thing right here. I will do things like that sometimes just because I want a little bit of texture and I don't want to add any kind of words to distract. So I'll just breathe. That is pretty much kind of the overview. I know there's the outro, but it's kind of the same techniques used, to be honest. I think the main things to remember is just to build your texture so things are not one-dimensional vocal-wise, and to build those fun moments, because as a fan personally, I can't wait to hear those in the songs that I love. And as a creator, you get to make those. Alright guys, and that's pretty much it. As always, if you have questions, please put them down below. I will answer. And if you're not subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button and make sure you like this video if you do actually like it and find it helpful. But on that note, I'm gonna go, and I hope you guys have an amazing day, and I will see you next time. Bye!